Hello, this is Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, and we've come to another paper recital today. Today we have one of our dear member, soul family members, and her name is Jasvinder Kaur, who is very interested in mind control programming of negative aliens, and she even has some insight herself to tell you, uh, you know, uh, should she choose to do so about these sort of mind control programming, how they work. But anyway, this paper, let me tell you, let me share the screen and tell you where you can find this paper. Of course, just like all the papers, first of all, you can find them by Googling my name, because if you Google my name, a bunch of stuff shows up and you can see them. Secondly, if that fails, the papers are actually on WordPress.com, and here it is. This is right here, and it is called, wrong one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's
Okay, anyway, if you go on top of if you go in there, it will tell you papers on a variety of different subjects. This one is classified under reverse consciousness uh, agenda, strategy, and technology, which I call it NARC, because it's negative alien reverse consciousness. And if you go in there and you go down in there, you get lists. And in the list, if you look at it, here's mind control. And voila, this is the one that she's going to be talking about. So the paper was a little rather long, so I had split it into two parts. So today, Jasvinder is going to recite the first part, and then she will come back and recite the second part later. Okay, so that's that. The two other things I wanted to tell you is that, first of all, you can find me on Facebook, and I have been actually on the Facebook for years. I'm one of the uh, initial ones or original ones that basically, again, oh, okay, let's see. Okay, here we go. I was one of the early ones who actually started teaching on the Facebook, because I noticed that the whole format of Facebook, it's a very good forum. It provides a place where you can put a picture or a slide actually, and then it gives you a chance to discuss something as a discussion session. Let's see, right here you can type whatever you want to do, and also people can comment. They can be in touch with you. Um, and you can respond to their comments right on the group, or you could, on privately through Messenger. Now, I want to tell you this: when I started this, the Facebook started giving me a horrendous problem, and they kicked me out 2, 3 times, and I had so many followers, and then I had to start all over again. So what happened was this: that they were telling me, you're not using this for what the way it has been intended, which of course it was to spy on you, right? So they wanted you to put the picture of your wife or husband or children and the dog and gossip with each other and do all kinds of stuff, so they find out what's going on in your life. This was like a camera in the home that they could spy on you, right? So I changed all that, and on my side, I only did these kind of things, starting discussing spirituality and putting slides and things of that nature. Okay. So anyway, after that, actually, to my amazement, I noticed that it took off, and they started introducing the concept of groups, okay, and pages, which at that point, actually, the the page had started. I had Institute of Special Science anyway. But anyway, for all that's worth, you know, I'm one of the earliest one who started this on Facebook, if not the very first one, I don't know, in 2011. And it is very, very commonplace. Unfortunately, there's a lot of misinformation, disinformation. There's a lot of nonsense going on. Still, people look at it as a social media, and they're at each other's throat and negative, propagating negative energies and all that stuff. Anyway, you will not find any of that in mine. I have never allowed that. I've blocked people. So if you go in there, you're going to find a tremendous number of slides, which are tutorial slides. And a lot of these slides are actually responses to people's questions. For example, what is Christoph Sophia? And all this stuff, which I have responded to it. So anyway, I have never said that much on any of these videos, but I encourage you to go to Facebook while it lasts. And while I'm there, I think you're going to find sort of a forum, a classroom that every day that you can invest a little bit of time and learn a few things. In fact, let me ask Jasvinder, how did you find that, Jasvinder?
How did I find?
You found me through Facebook, is that correct?
Yes, I did, yeah. I think it was through another group that I was in, and I found you via that. I can't remember what group it was now, but I found you via that, and then I found your WordPress page, and this is the first paper that I read in December, I think, towards the end of December, and it just blew my mind, basically.
But you are one of the regular people. I see that you come in, you comment, you know, you like and, you know, react, yeah, as they say, and all this kind of stuff. So you know what I'm talking about, right? That you know, it is a forum for discussion. There are no gossips. There's no social media going on in here. It's very serious. Yeah, correct or not? It's actually the closest thing you're going to have to a closed circuit university. You know, you know, although it's just myself doing it. But anyway, here's what it is. Jasvinder mentioned one of the groups, and she's right. There are actually 7 groups, but I'm consolidating everything to one. In fact, this group was called, for example, Mechanics of Cosmos, and I've changed it to, you know, consciousness, creation, cosmos, bioenergetics, morphogenetic, everything, spirituality, psychology, all this stuff. So everything we're going to have it in one group only, because it was getting so difficult to respond to all this. And when you put slides all over, people ask questions all over and keeping track. And then they ask the same questions in different groups. So you responded here, you got to respond to anyway. Anyway, this is the one that we have. You want to look for Dr. Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi speaks on consciousness, creation, cosmos, and I call it etc. because they won't let you write the rest of it, but it covers the entire field of basically what I have referred to as spiritual science, which is in the old times, you know, it's called the Kelantic science, I think, or Kelantic science, I guess. So anyway, that's as far as that's concerned. The other thing is that these videos will appear on this new channel. And again, I have an older channel that's simply Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, but this one's called the Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi channel. So it's a newer one, and we have started doing all these, as you can see, all these videos. There are recitals, and they're increasing day by day, and you will find the recital of these papers, because you know, there's probably several hundred papers. I don't know, 400 or 500 papers, and it's getting difficult to keep track of them. But you can have somebody recite it for you, and then at the same time, I appear on the video in most of them, almost all of them, and we have a discussion. So it gives a chance to the person who recites it to ask questions and all that. So again, check that also, the Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi channel, I believe that's what it's called, the YouTube channel, and please subscribe there. And I think you will be happy that you did that. So I guess with that introduction, we're going to go back, and I'm going to give the, so to speak, screen in here, or the podium, to Jasvinder, or Jassi as we call her, and she will going to recite the first part, and then I will be back to respond to her questions, and then there will be a second recording of this, because as I said, the paper is very long. There's a part 2 aspect of it. So here we are. There's Jassi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. I've read this paper so many times. It's just it really did blow my mind, and I was like, this is my life. The paper is Negative Aliens, Reverse Consciousness, NARC Technology. Now, in the UK, a NARC is a grass. That is how much they reverse the consciousness. Circumventing Mind Control by Mohsen Paul Sarfarazi, Ph.D. The abstract of this paper: a general overview of the state of affairs with respect to the consciousness energetics of humanity on the present earth is presented. It is explicated that humanity has been victimized by a horde of parasitic, vampiric, negative aliens who conquered the territory of Earth and its solar system hundreds of thousands of years ago, and have ever since maintained it as a prison planet, subjugating humans to self-enslavement of unconsciousness through the nefarious dark beast machinery via their mind-controlling technology that include the use of holographic inserts, frequency fences, and even parasitic implants, tagging technologies, and such. It is further elucidated that the negative aliens beast machinery can only be effective while humanity indulges in slumber, being artificially put in effectively the sleep state, practically offering its sovereignty and divine state of free will power to them on a silver platter. Without such a gift of unawareness to the negative aliens, one is inherently awakened to its divine nature within, and all the self-destructive and avaricious behaviors of lust for materialism, carnal desires, and whatever other addictive traits that diminish its effective natural frequency of consciousness would suddenly vanish. It is further clarified and emphasized that humanity as a divine being of light, with its incredible multidimensional 12D crystalline morphogenetic embodied structure, indeed epitomizes the crown jewel of all forms in the Nebdon universe, with an inherent inner divine light that defines the very existence and indeed illuminates the very Nebdon universe. It is thus prudent that humanity once and for all awakens from this incredible nightmare imposed upon its state of mind, effectuating unconsciousness, and look within to bring into its attention span and frontal lobe consciousness how truly magnificent it is as the co-creator offspring of the God source, who epitomizes infinite crystallinity, coherency, consciousness, creativity, and acumen. Thus, it is time to awaken to this truth by completely resonating with what resides within, that epitomizes all that is creational, constructive, with utter sense of unconditional love, magnetism that is effectively deleted from the equation of reality by the negative aliens, our very signifying trait of compassion and empathy for all organic life forms, including our own fellow humans, with the utter non-judgmental attitude and feelings and appreciation for the nature of our interconnectedness to the all. While we subscribe to the doctrine of the good for the all and begin to hear our clarion call of service to all, meanwhile, revering all form of organic conscious beings. Remember, dark epitomizes the absence of light. Besides, the negative aliens, having severed their connection to the God source, have willingly condemned themselves to a bi-wave system of energetics with an inevitable consequence of entropy, culminating in self-consumption, decay, and death. If their structure of parasitism, vampirism, contingent on stealing and siphoning the energetics of organic soul consciousness beings, would suddenly stop, this would carry them to the oblivion and abyss unless they are rescued by being reabsorbed by the God source as raw energetic materials, void of any spiritual consciousness identity, and utilized and reformed into new creations. Beloved, take heart. You are finally going home to the 0 point, unified, divine field of your progenitor, the very prime creator. Wow. Now, when I read the abstract, it was like, oh my God, wow.
Yeah,
But you don't know, yeah, you don't know that you're giving away free will. You don't even know that.
Yep, that's the trick of the negative alien. That is, you just define the most important aspect of their power. Their power is not AI technology. The AI technology can fall apart if you don't participate in their game. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's the funny thing, as you said it, you participate in their game without even knowing, because you're practically, they make a zombie out of you. You're unconscious. And actually, these parasites, they can whisper sweet nothing or whatever in your ears. They interface with your inner voice. They mimic your inner voice. So you even think it's you. So you say, oh, I'm angry. He shouldn't do this to me. Let me punch him in the mouth. Let me do this to him and stuff like this. And it's not even you. It's not even your heart. It's not, you could forgive. You could, and I don't want to get into this because I can get into the psychology of this parasitism, which we will be covering actually in detail in the future with more papers and stuff. But anyway, as you said, the most important aspect of their power is that they have subjected you to unconsciousness enslavement. So
On purpose.
yes, and
on
so
purpose.
absolutely on purpose, because they want to suck your energies. They want to siphon your energies. They live on your energies. Without your energies, they're nothing.
Yeah.
We have the energy of God that animates us. We are real. They're not real. AI, they can just fall apart, just like the pixels can just fall if there's nothing, if there's no energy going. It's like a TV. If you unplug it, whoa, it goes. There's nothing. So they're like that, basically, these energetic parasites. You provide the energy to do that. And if you don't provide the energy, they can't live. They just fall apart. Of course, they've had a sophisticated AI technology, which they have, stored it in their Moloch tank, and they run it through their system. But that system is crumbling and is coming down. So whatever is in the field is going to just drop suddenly, because there's nothing to maintain it, keep it going.
No, about I read about the Moloch tanks as well. That blew my mind. It really did. I was like, my goodness me. And how long have they been doing that for?
Mm-hmm.
And how many people have they done that to? Not just women, it's men as well.
Oh, absolutely. They have the games. They've separated us into two. Again, you're bringing on so many subjects that are so interesting, but that's a gender issue, and they've created the male, female, and there's a battle of sexes. Female play their games of seduction, male play their games of strength and brawn and all this stuff. And instead of being together, being partners, you know what I'm saying? I mean, when we're talking lovers, there is a spiritual aspect of being lovers, which means cooperating with each other, taking care of each other. It's not sexual. Gender is not sexual, and even sex itself has a purpose, and that's procreation, procreation. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, don't get me going, Jassy, because we can get into all kinds of stuff. But wonderful, it's very good deduction. Wonderful. Keep going.
Okay. Introduction. Humanity is trapped in a prison of unconsciousness, effectuated by negative aliens controlling our Earth's consciousness grid and planetary ley lines and axiotonal lines. The same entities have damaged and reversed our stargates and our creational consciousness mechanics. Our reality is contaminated through deception that is commonly used by employing mind-controlling holographic inserts in order to consciously enslave humanity. Therefore, it is very important, first of all, to be aware of such an atrocity inflicted upon humanity. And secondly, it is of crucial importance to comprehend and decipher the nature of such traps laid out before humanity as a means of inflicting unconsciousness. Note that mind control is only effective to the negative aliens if only you practically relinquish your willpower and, so to speak, give it to them on a silver platter. Just being apprised of this truth with regard to the existence of the negative aliens and their nature as parasitic vampiric beings preying upon our divine energetics should provide a significant impetus in thwarting their nefarious efforts. And of course, the negative aliens are very well aware of such a fact. Thus, a significant underlying purpose for their mind control programming is to, so to speak, employ mind slides, a term used in the military and shadow government black op maneuvers to deflect our attention from such a truth. And the way mind slides work is that they are inserted as program apertures in our holographic reality that sets a particular stereotype, trend, or belief system in humanity's collective consciousness. This way, we are programmed to be sensitized to certain, so to speak, taboo phraseologies and ideologies in order to trigger a response in us to readily dismiss such a notion with respect to the reality of their existence and operation. When I started talking about being a targeted individual to somebody, that gentleman said to me, "Oh, everyone's targeted. It just depends how sensitive you are." And I didn't really know what to say. I was in shock. I was like, wow, okay. To cite more clear examples, such concepts or ideologies as aliens, negative aliens, other dimensions, etc., are commonly professed to appear intangible and programmed to trigger strong sense of doubt, disbelief, and even ridicule in humanity perception. This is why humanity has always entertained the notion that we are alone in the universe, with the Earth humans possibly being the only sentient beings with higher consciousness. And while the parameter of or impetus of ego as a low third dimensional trait is consistently used against us to fantasize or entertain the notion that we are the crown jewels of all creatures, animals, at least on our planet, the most significant characteristic trait and aspect of our existence that is multi-dimensionality is totally concealed from our discernment or deciphering. In this respect, the conscious memories of all our prior reincarnations have been wiped out through their so-called blank slate technology, even inciting doubts and strong beliefs that the very concept of recycling souls or constrained reincarnation. And of course, backing up their efforts and carrying out their various mission on Earth is guaranteed through the installation of an elitist and hierarchical structure with a pyramidal organization. At the top of such a hierarchical pyramidal structure on the planet lies a group that is collectively referred to as the Illuminati. These are a group of people, actually human reptilian hybrids, who comprise not even 1% of the society, who mostly definitely epitomize or control a shadow government. And this shadow government is backed by a corporatocracy and an educational system, with the latter, in fact, representing a phantom establishment to qualify as such. This is why we are led to believe that we are evolved from apes, glorifying the abominable ideology of Darwinism and the deranged philosophies of Freudism. I always knew that the theory of evolution was false, but I just didn't know why. Obviously, my soul knew. It's just this consciousness didn't. Together with the military system, their so-called space program members of the shadow government, the megalomaniac corporatocracy, and the elites of the educational financial structure, and all their cohorts and slaves, servants are actually all puppets of the negative aliens. In essence, these so-called elites are the traitors to humanity who have sold their proverbial soul to the devil. All these individuals are either outright possessed and belong to the negative aliens, example, the Illuminati, or are severely mind controlled through the low dimensional ego traits, like souls with cords of attachments, like marionettes. And it may be true that in certain cases that may involve individuals near the base of this hierarchical pyramid, they are in a sleeper state, performing as zombies who, being entrenched in the egomaniacal fantasies of their achieved status, are not quite aware of what is happening. As in, the civilians don't know what's going on. Furthermore, although these individuals have been rewarded with all the fame and fortune they could ever muster in this lifetime, in this timeline, they are still an enslaved race, doomed to be subject to the whims of the negative aliens to do what they please with them, including further soul fragmentation and even condemnation to the underworld or other phantom timelines they operate during the course of their afterlife. So apart from recognizing the parasitic nature of existence of the negative aliens and their nefarious desire and need to subject us to consciousness enslavement, the second obstacle to overcome is to indeed believe that such mind control programming and technology are consistently used against humanity to siphon our energies. From there on, it should be fairly straightforward to be able to effectively say no to their mind control programming. But this is something that is entirely your own responsibility, not to submit to such consciousness trap by effectively relinquishing your divine right of free will. This is where manipulations come in and all that, and you don't know you're being manipulated, and yeah. Yet, negative aliens have always relied upon the effectiveness of their consciousness traps, effectuated via their mind control programming, giving them a very unfair advantage over us to effectively act as our jailers and controllers. By virtue of the principle of free will, every individual has a choice to discern their personal consciousness energy and decide where they want to place that energy. If you are willing to take responsibility to exert control over your own consciousness, you will not be subject to a frivolous collective consciousness that can be otherwise easily manipulated and controlled by the negative aliens, i.e. pop culture and all that stuff. Note that human beings are by nature highly social beings. Human beings ordinarily have magnetic hearts through which they communicate with one another as well as with all living things. Usually what one thinks and gravitates to is searched out and adopted by many, ultimately forming the basis for the collective consciousness of the masses. And such a collective consciousness of the masses ultimately forms the species memories of the human race. Can I ask what that means, please? The collective consciousness forms a species memory.
Right. Well, basically, the entire planet is made out of your consciousness. If you didn't have consciousness, if you didn't exist as a consciousness being, if all of us didn't exist, the planet wouldn't exist. So it is our collective consciousness that makes the planetary logo or the brain. Okay, of course, it has a genetic, energetic structure, the same way that we have through our chakras, whatever. Okay, through grids, which is actually tonal, what is it, Lee lines, which we have Lee lines, basically they're called, and the Stargate system and all this kind of stuff. That's all the energetics of the planet. And that infrastructure only works if there's energy going through it, or there's energy, and the energy comes from us. So our collective consciousness creates Earth. It creates the solar system, which of course in solar system, the planetary, they contribute also their own, okay? And then goes into galaxy, goes into universe. In fact, everything's like a hologram. You're a hologram. Yeah, all of us come together and create a bigger hologram, and that becomes planet Earth. Okay? And that becomes part of a bigger system, like solar system. The solar system is actually part of Earth. You know what I'm saying? The galaxy, this universe, multi-universes, the first, and I don't want to go on. It goes all the way. And when you collect all the energies that there are, you get God. All the consciousness energies. You know what I'm saying? And anything that it's not consciousness energy, it's converted form of consciousness energy. It's congealed. Okay, energy has a quanta that spins. Okay. It spins less and less. It starts retarding, slowing down. It basically, in the extreme sense, it solidifies. You get like a solid. Think of a volcano. When the lava comes down, you know what I'm saying? It's gas, it's plasma, it's gas. It becomes liquid, and then it becomes solid rock. So that's congealment. You see what I'm saying? So anything that you see is energy. A rock is energy. Anything, all that picture that's hanging in your house is energy. You are energy. But we are the impetus that create this system. That's why without humanity, actually we are very special among all the species. And now you said species energy?
Species memories, yeah.
Sorry?
Species memories.
Okay, well, we have energy, and energy, we have soul. A soul is like a spring. I have, you know, the metaphor that I use is a spring that contracts. You can compress it, and it stores energy. You know what I'm saying? And it gives out energy. So that energy is very, very analogous to the memory that you have in your soul. In fact, the soul itself is very, very analogous to a spring. It attracts the energy and it stores it within its system, which has a dark matter. And that's a different issue. You don't want to get into much of that right now. But you know what I'm saying? So soul memory is everything you do, all your consciousness reality, okay? It becomes a record. It gets written in your soul memory.
But that's the Akashic records, no? Is that so?
Absolutely. At the end, it's the Akashic records. You know, you get the Akashic records for the cosmos, universe, whatever. Exactly. It's just like a hologram that's part of a bigger hologram. That's what, you know, they all come together. We come together to make the Earth, all the other, you know, species and all this stuff come in to make the planet, you know, solar system. All the solar system makes the planet galaxy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all holographic. I have a paper called Hologram in Hologram. I have a bunch of papers on holographic universe and cosmos. You might want to take a look at some of those. But and how reality works. And it actually works through light, through projection of light, because the energy of God comes via light. Neutral, it's massless. It's like photons. You know what I'm saying? But it's real energy. It's not synthetic energy like electricity. That is synthetic. That's a converted, you know what I'm saying? That's extracted. So that's what negative aliens do from us. They take our magnetic energy, extract its real energy, then they convert it into the form of energy they can use in their AI technology. And they literally plug it in, just like you've seen in a Star Trek, those, what do they call the Borg? They have to go and energize, same thing. We don't have to energize. God sends it to us. We're connected to God through umbilical cords, which I call the time, bivector of time. We're getting too much into mechanics now. We can talk about that, but you know, I'm sorry when you ask me a question, I go all over it. But to answer your question, memory, yes, memory is the conglomerate set of all your experiences that is now recorded in your soul, in the dark matter. And dark matter, by the way, is a wrong word. They should call it stealth matter.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not dark energy, or even dark energy is not dark. It's actually light. You know what I'm saying? But because you can't see it, it's stealth. The frequencies, we can't see them. You call them dark.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. If we blindly identify ourselves with the generated feelings in the masses and jump on the bandwagon driven by impulses and fads, we totally give up our personal rights to our individual matrix of consciousness. Note that such impulses can and often are commonly influenced by the negative aliens' mind control programming, and thus we would relinquish our right to free will and fall into a trap that is created as a collective consciousness. In fact, as it is commonly the case, the power of the mass consciousness has a tendency to take its toll and develop into mob frenzy. This gives rise to a collective mindset in which certain concepts or ideologies are often categorized in a stereotype manner and identified by certain phraseologies. This way, the negative aliens could easily use such phrases categorized as either taboo or relevant according to their missions and needs to mind control us. Example of such a process is easily observed in our own military in black ops and covert operations, in which an operative is programmed with certain words or phrases as approved or unapproved, and thus acts according to suit the mission of their operation. To be more specific, the military regularly grooms and mind controls certain personnel to become political assassins or turn them into previously trained super soldiers to kill, which upon hearing certain keywords, it triggers a response needed in these individuals to practically turn them into zombies, or as it is referred to in the field, into a sleeper state, to blindly and unconsciously carry out their directives. This, in my experience, this doesn't just happen in the military. This happens in civilians as well. Monarch programming, they do it within civilians to civilians, and that I've experienced it myself. It's horrible. I didn't even realize it was happening until I got out of that state, and then I looked back and I was like, I was actually programmed.
Well, actually, that's what the paper says. It says that it's recognized in the military now because the information is out, but that is happening widespread among humanity. But because it's stealth and people don't understand that, they think it's their thoughts, they think it's their things doing, and it's not. It really isn't.
It's not. This describes the basis for the mind slide operation. Note that such process of metamorphosizing an individual from a plain human to a dreaded killer as a military political operative is often carried out through subjecting the individual to extremely low frequency ELF and radio waves in an up close and on individual manner. Very much like what some psychiatrists employ to calm a patient down to basically a catatonic state. However, the mind slide operation employed by the secret government and the military is often conducted in a much more sophisticated manner, in which the subject's subconsciousness is targeted without him or her remembering the process or knowing he or she is a sleeper, and any apparent observable difference in the individual when he or she is not in an activated state. And the negative practically utilize a similar technology, but on the planetary scale, to mind control the planetary logos, so the planet's brain, and with it, the individual minds of its constituents that are human Earth inhabitants. Furthermore, the negative aliens have the capability of totally erasing the planetary as well as personal consciousness memories, including all that is historically recorded in the consciousness grid and its ley lines axiotonal structure. I can attest to that because of my PTSD. I've had years of memories deleted.
You have PTSD?
I do, yeah. I'm healing it. This technology is often referred to as blank slate programming in covert government military operations that effectively erases the conscious memories of an individual after the operative or the operation becomes obsolete. This form of blank slate technology is often utilized by the negative aliens to bombard the Earth grid and its core and axiotonal structure with potent electrostatic force field that also has the capability to effectively put a net around the Earth in which no communication signals with the higher dimensions can get in or out, utilizing all sorts of interfacing frequency signals to interface with and block such signals. That is what is referred to as a Nibiru electrostatic transduction net field technology. Now, the net field technology, I'm sure Bill Gates owns the .net.
Yeah, it actually makes you wonder where the word net came from, right? Internet, net, and network. Yeah, actually NET, Nibiru electrostatic transduction, NET, field technology. But that's actually has been disassembled. You know that. It was, yeah, it was actually in England. You know, it was in Stonehenge.
Oh, wow.
It's a whole different, you know, what is it, topic to talk about the 11th Stargate and the you know what I'm saying, Stonehenge and all that stuff. And the grid, the NRG, then the Nephilim reverse grid system, and all that stuff. But it's come down. It was connected to Calgary in Canada and going all the way to, you know, to the you know, Mid East and going to Russia and here to you know, South America, all this stuff. Anyway, yeah, they had this network on the, you know, on the Lee lines and then the grid system. They were controlling the grid system all the way going into like a planetary brain, and the planetary brain is the collective of human brains. You know what I'm saying? All the energies collect together. You know what I'm saying? It makes the energy of the, you know, the planetary, basically brain or logo, you know.
Okay, that's starting to make sense now. Apart from creating a consciousness prison and blank slating, consciousness wiping, it has the capability to practically fry or blow up the consciousness quanta of energy of a soul or embodied individual into countless pieces that it would virtually be impossible to integrate or reconstitute the fragmented pieces ever. That is how addictions take hold. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, you know, that particular sentence you read, it speaks of this net. It's like just a net around the earth. It was like a net, actually a net. You know what I'm saying? A security net that you could not leave the space, either physically through a, you know, spaceship or something, or even your soul, even when you die, and it would zap you with this electrostatic energy, frying you on the spot. So that's how it made Earth practically a prison, a physical prison as well as energetic prison. Okay. And now, what was your question? You said something that was not quite relevant.
Is that how the addictions take hold? Because
addiction, did you say addiction? Yeah, that's mind control programming. When the mind control programming becomes implemented and the person excessively, you know, submits to it, it becomes worse and worse. It actually becomes like a pain that you need the pain. Have you heard of saying, oh, it pains so good, or you know what I'm saying? That's nonsense. So they created a form of comfort in pain. And that's what addiction is. You know what I'm saying? So you want more. There's all kinds of addiction. You know, there's materialistic addiction with the person who's, you know, in the malls, they created these shopping malls. So you would go in there and fill your bag, and you don't even look what's inside your bag. You got to go back and buy more and buy more and you don't even enjoy it. So why on earth are you doing this? You're spending money, you're borrowing money from the banks and putting yourself more in debt and under their control, because the bankers control you. You know what I'm saying? There's all kinds of things. There's sexual stuff. I mean, why would you get somebody like famous, good-looking, they call it star or movie star, like, I don't know if I should really name, like David Duchovny or whatever, or Hugh Grant. They would go out there and pick up prostitutes. That's sickness. That's addiction. That's addiction. You know what I'm saying? So these are all very, very deranged and derailed behaviors. So addiction is the extreme form of what's happening. Now, the more you mentioned something about the guy told you, oh, it's up to you and stuff. To a point, he's right. Because if you apply your free will, you don't let them feed on you. You don't submit to those self-destructive behaviors. But if you let go and let go, then you get addicted to everything, to money, to sex, and then narcissistically. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of stuff, even to terror, to even what is it? We can go on and talk about this. In '80s, they released all these horror movies, and people were going like crazy for it. Why would you want to watch these movies? They became addictive. They're all controlled by negative aliens. Everything that Hollywood is controlled. Anyway, go on, my dear, because otherwise we there's so much to talk about. I mean, we could.
So with such nefarious technological capabilities specifically devised to suit their mind controlling and parasitic energetic needs or agenda, they have the ability to freely prey upon the solar consciousness of humanity through utilization of holographic inserts to suit their specific missions and tasks, as well as numerously invented frequency fences to manipulate and damage our personal planetary bioenergetic morphogenetics Merkaba fields. As such, they have devised numerous different holographic inserts as special apertures to distort our holographic reality that are commensurate with their mind control strategies and ultimately their parasitic vampiric energetic mission. And the success of their mind control programming is contingent on the very concept that we relinquish the right to our free will, and by losing control as to where our consciousness energy is directed. This way, as social animals that we are, we can become easily drawn into and swallowed by a faulty gestalt of mass collective consciousness to which they have full control and set out the parameters or the consciousness apertures for a way of sequestering or misappropriation. This epitomizes the very silent way to steal consciousness energy that requires no disclosure or form of consent, as it is, after all, executed by the very same individual willingly or willfully, yet without one's full awareness of its pitfalls. Then why would that fall on human? That shouldn't really. That consequence should fall back onto the negative aliens. Why would the negative aliens think that it's okay to do that? Is it because they don't believe in karma?
Oh, they use karma against you, okay? They want to tell you that you're doing sin, that, you know what I'm saying, that you have to go and fix yourself back. That's how they send you, recycle your soul and you reincarnate. You know what I'm saying? And they use it. They don't believe in it. Did you ask? They don't believe in God. They think everything is fortuitous. They don't want to believe because they've lost total contact with God. They don't have this umbilical cord that we were speaking of. Each one of us is connected to God through an umbilical cord through which the timelines come. Or I call it bivector of time. You know what I'm saying? It's like a spring. You're connected to God, and you actually torsions, vibrate about God. This is all in the quantum level. So don't think of yourself, well, I don't see myself twisting anyway. Your quantum energy is doing. And I think, my dear, you should have some water or something, because it does get dry after a while. I do after a while. So anyway, yeah, and so they don't believe in that. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in karma. They don't believe in all this stuff, although that was the reason they fell. They became fallen. But they don't remember that. That was their ancestors billions of years ago. Now they have a miserable existence and they go on with their delusional or whatever, that is anti-God, anti-God, anti-Christus, anti-everything, okay? But they use that because they know you are, because you know you're connected to God. You bring the energies from God to them. They can't get energies from God. You see what I'm saying? So they get you, they needle you, so you go and do all this stuff to bring all that good energy to them. Because you have to turn that into lush. If you don't turn it to lush, they can't use it. It has to be low consciousness energies. If you keep your frequencies high, they can't touch you.
Okay. It is deception in its fullest, most devious form, nefariously perfected to some sort of art form, which does not even fully violate the mandate of the principle of free will, because you're doing it consciously, inverted commas, even though you're not. In this respect, the whole responsibility lies with the individual who, although is clearly subjected to victimization, nevertheless, it is the very same individual who does not uphold its own sense of sovereignty and state of God freedom. So they use our compassion against us, basically.
Absolutely. They don't understand compassion. But they know you do, so they use it against you.
Thus, when unaware, the individual practically relinquishes its own divine energy to be harnessed by these parasitic aliens. This is at least how it starts to take place at the inception of the individual, following fads and impulsive traits consistent with the masses, setting the stage for itself to be attracted by dark energies that represent an aspect of negative aliens to home in on their prey, to form cords of attachment and begin to parasitically feed upon the energetics of the individual. And sadly enough, it epitomizes consciousness self-enslavement through practicing or subscribing to a state of unconsciousness. Furthermore, if the self-abuse and self-destructive trends continue, aided by the very negative aliens who continuously incite the very same destructive impulses via the holographic inserts or otherwise to the individual and humanity as a whole, exasperating the situation, creature attachment eventually turns into total possession. This is when the individual begins to fall into self-destructive, addictive behaviors. The overall result is that the individual's consciousness energies are siphoned from them, with the individuals becoming drained of their energetics that overall represent the mass consciousness matrix or the planetary consciousness victimized by mind control programming. Meanwhile, when one is enmeshed with the collective matrix of humanity or the planetary consciousness, one is practically mesmerized about what is transpiring in its environment, practically becoming hypnotized, as if what is emerging in the society must be the norm and the one to conform to. This is why cigarettes were once very popular, and in fact, it was regarded fashionable, and the person who smoked them was considered as debonair, promoted by the imagery produced by the Hollywood actors and actresses. In almost every classic movie that repeatedly, almost scene after scene, portrayed the character in the movies holding and smoking cigarettes. This, of course, led to the strategies of many being diagnosed with cancer and continued on, decade after decade, until finally the public became wise to finally say no to this distorted imagery that no doubt was effectuated by the negative aliens in the first place. And what is sad, that still there are people who still smoke, who, with many of them construed as being cigarette addicts. Cigarette smoking is a highly neurotic behavior, that the impulse of smoking is often ingrained very deep in the subconscious mind of the individual, initiated by a controlling program aperture that, as an entropic miasma, has enmeshed itself in the psyche of the individual. Miasma, I read, is that karma?
No, miasma is like a dead energy, something that comes out of the exhaust. Okay,
okay.
and it's basically useless, and it brings disease. So
Okay.
miasma actually is a very old word that before medicine was invented, they talked about miasma as being disease or discomfort of the body.
Okay.
But they have created miasma in the field because of their AI technology too.
Wow. As such, for such individuals, it takes a resolute mindset to end the self-destructive behavior, which nevertheless is very much in line and at the disposal of the right of free will of the individual. Another common form of addiction is alcohol, that was also pushed on humanity as an impetus or a cool, trendy way of getting inebriated as to not have a care in the world and to be able to party all night long. It has also always been regarded as a la mode, stylish, or fashionable to entertain guests by offering them a drink at a function or during a private gathering as a much essential venue for entertainment. It is something that is very commonly used in social business occasions, the underlying reason for that being to divert the guest's attention and elate them into becoming more agreeable to meet one's terms. It is also the instrument of entertainment in bars, restaurants, and especially nightclubs of all kinds, to, so to speak, open your purse, to want to spend more, be it simply buying more drinks, a highly common impulsive act, order more food, or most significantly, to want to pay for sex, be it by buying repeated drinks for the person you want to pick up at such establishment, or as a result of direct solicitation by prostitutes and such. And as it is the case for such forbidden substances, initially it was illegal and banned by the government. However, as the public gets sufficiently used to the idea and falls into the trap laid for them by the negative aliens, and it becomes commonly embedded in the mind of the people to perceive such substances as cool, it becomes legal. Such was the case with alcohol and now with marijuana and such. So as the market becomes sufficiently established as to have a considerable demand, suddenly it becomes legal by the authorities. And why? Because the shadow government controls the trade, but only as a covert operation. It is something that ultimately upholds the interest of negative aliens on the planet, which is all geared towards siphoning our precious divine energies. So the more destructive behaviors, the better it is for the negative aliens. The negative aliens are the original inventors of ideas with respect to such potential self-destructive behaviors to be perpetrated by the solar consciousness beings. Other important self-destructive behaviors may be related to sex, be it derailed sexual practices, prostitution, human trafficking, pornography, internet sex, child prostitution, paedophilia, violent sex, rape, sodomy, oral sex, etc., or sexual confusion, homosexuality, transgenderism, etc., and any form of addictions that would encompass one or more of such deranged acts. As such, The negative aliens have holographic inserts as reality apertures that are installed in Earth's consciousness grid and its axial tonal lines, which sets the basis for the collective consciousness of the planet, as was discussed earlier, which is conformant with their desires and needs to siphon our precious divine energies. Of course, one of the best candidates for this is our sexual energies that through the design of divine creation epitomizes the most potent form of energies to ever exist, as it is what culminates in ecstasy of procreation, bringing another wonderful solar consciousness being into life within this timeline. And negative aliens know this very well and look upon it with mockery as they cannot procreate, yet as a potential value, yet use it as a potential venue to exploit. This is why they have put considerable efforts devising mind-controlling holographic inserts and introduce them into our reality via the consciousness grid, etc., and into the collective consciousness of humanity to be able to harness as much energy as possible to introducing such self-destructive and addictive behaviors. Those addictive behaviors being sexual abuse, child sexual abuse, and things like that. Because I suffered that, and it's just seeing how much it goes on in the world is just, and then reading this paper, and then I'm like, okay.
It's disgusting. It's just totally disconnected people. You can't even have a conversation with a person. You know what I'm saying? From one point of view, they go and do all these disgusting stuff. And then from another point of view, you know, the word sex, you know, has such a connotation to people that is crazy. I mean, the whole purpose of sex is procreation.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's
because if you want to think about it, it doesn't last long.
No, not really.
The actual where the negative aliens get you to the point to extract your energies, which if you don't procreate and if you don't do a loving relationship, that's low frequency. That becomes louche. You know what I'm saying? And you know, what is the big what's the big what is it drama about all this sexist stuff? You know, you can't even talk to a woman anymore. You have to be careful what you're saying because they're going to take it against you. You can say something in a therapy, asking, you know, having a conversation. That person can go and use that against you and says, oh, asked about, you know, when did I have sex or something. Well, if it's part of your therapy, the person needs to know. If you want to purify yourself, you want to abstain from it, I guess the doctor can ask you, the first thing is just, well, when did you have last time? You know what I'm saying? Or if you have been doing abusive and you say, no, I don't want to do that. You know, do you see what I'm saying? It's just the whole concept is just so ridiculous. And what sex is a form of energy that's between a male and female. It's supposed to be shared to create, to procreate, nothing more than that.
Yeah.
Maybe if there's some infatuation that may be regarded, it's not even sexual, but it's gender related because of the contrast between a male and female. Because, you know, male is deprived of some of the female energy. It's lopsided into male energies, right? Electric. Female is lopsided into magnetic, which means the electric energies are missing. So obviously when they two come in, the two light bodies or auras come together, they can get attracted because they need each other to complete each other. You know what I'm saying? So it is meant to use that as a sense of cooperation, bringing true love, caring, sharing between two partners. Okay? Now that's turned into disgusting nonsense right now. Look what's going on around you. You know what I'm saying? I'm even afraid sometimes to even click on something because it goes into a porno stuff. They send it in your phone. They send it in your Facebook message. They send it in your email. Even I'm going to tell you something. Ever since I've started doing this thing, okay, they put it in the videos, especially if there's, you know what I'm saying? They put it in the videos and they come and say, excellent job, wonderful. And then they put a little acronym, something which is a link. And don't click on that link, because if you click on that link, it goes directly to porno stuff. I have caught at least 5 or 6 cases of these. So, you know, that's why when I put these videos, I don't accept comments. I have to review every comment. It's probably reduced the number of comments from good people because they have to be reviewed. So, you know, they don't bother to comment. But it is to, because if I don't catch that and it goes online, they're advertising their porno sites through my stuff. So you come in here to listen to this video, and then the person says, excellent job, or this, or this, or this, and then puts on, and you click on that, goes to the porno site. They're so devious. Do you understand what I'm trying to tell you? They send you emails now. They used to be, they were not this devious. They got so, right now, they've got so desperate, the negative aliens. They try to trick you.
Of course, because there's a lot already.
Things. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you this, Jesse. They send you email. Email comes from a person, and you say, I wonder who this person is. What is it? And somebody such as myself who gets a lot of emails, a lot of things, because people, you know, I have questions, they want counseling, they want this, this, this. You click into it, boom, it goes to a porno site. This is supposed to be an email. You know what I'm saying? And it's disgusting. The other thing that I've noticed during the past 2 years is really escalated. Every single week, I get several, at least 2 or 3, you know, requests for friendship on Facebook. And when I click go in there, before actually I knew I could see it because the girl is wearing, you know, on stuff. So you delete it. You know what she's looking for. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now it doesn't look like anything like that. You know what I'm saying? But when you go and start looking, what is this? It's all pictures of herself, and they target people. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Or targeting people left and right. I don't know about females. You could tell me that, but you know, other people could, you know, have something to say about it. But I'm telling you this, during the past 5-10 years, it's really become so devious that almost every correspondence you get, you have to quickly put them into the garbage. And you know what? For somebody such as myself, you could write to me, and if I don't recognize your name, it goes in the garbage. So that's not right either. So they're destroying communication among people. They have really, really dragged it into a sewer. Are you listening to me? And all this stuff. So this sex thing is just so ridiculous, so absurd. It's in the mind of everything. And the other thing, of course, is materialism, which is parallel, but it's not as that, because sexual energies are the most potent energies in your system, because they come to create procreation. You bring a beautiful person into this life, a beautiful baby, right? The other thing is, of course, is blood, because your blood carries your energies, your vital energies of life. That's why blood is so vital. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you talk about vampiric blood sucking. You know what I'm saying? Because these parasites are actually vampiric. They suck the loosh out of your blood, and so you have to bring your energies down, 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 so it's usable to them, then boom, they take it out. And how do they do this? By make you do these self-destructive stuff, hurting yourself in the long run. And addiction it might be extreme, but you can resort to anger, fear, anxiety, other kinds of things. And there are many types of addictions. You know what I'm saying? So
it is just.
You have to be very smart nowadays. You have to be very vigilant.
Oh yeah, definitely.
First of all, remember this. Tell yourself, and it's going to change. Hopefully, it is changing right now already. Okay, but we didn't have single soul occupancy. There were always these parasites on us. They were stealth. We didn't see them. You know what I'm saying? They make you do things. They even mimic your own inner voice to tell you to do things, right? And so all these terms in psychology, schizophrenia, delirium, dementia, that, a lot of these, all of them are related to parasitic fear. I'm actually branching into this. I'm going to be writing a lot in what I call new psychology. And we have some people who are interested.
It needs to be done because I think I've kind of worked it out that the shadow work that we do, the dark night of the soul that we have to do, that entity that we have to sort out is created by the negative aliens.
It is a negative alien. It's a form of negative alien. Negative alien is not just a 40-foot reptile in physical body. You know what I'm saying? They're drones. They're parasitic things like SPE I've spoken of. You know what I'm saying? Suppressor, parasitic entity. They're energetic stuff. They put their tentacles in you, and they grab on. And the more self-destructive you have, the bigger they become. That's one kind of it. Don't get me into parasitic stuff because I could talk for hours about it, and we will be talking about those things more and more in due course. But anyway, I hope I answered your question anyway.
Oh, you did. And almost parallel with self-destructive sexual misery programming in terms of gravity of importance is creating blood sacrifices effectuated by killings of different origins that defy the very principle of organic life, releasing energies for their parasitic carnage. This is why there are so many killings on this planet. Killings as a result of wars, motivated by any form of divide and conquer strategy, packaged into any form of divisions and disagreement in ideologies, etc. Terrorism, futile, violent killings of all kinds as a result of wars on drugs, territorial disputes, and any other form of conflict, prejudice, eugenics, street violence arising from poverty, various addictions, killings due to deranged and fragmented souls referred to serial killers, etc. And recently, another form of killing has been added to this never-ending menu, which is just random futile killings of innocents and bystanders by youths or angry individuals who clearly suffer from a strong sense of helplessness, anxieties, as a result of yet another form of soul fragmentation, who act as utterly apathetic beings, void of any spiritual values, conscience, or convictions, ever divisive, to take out their misery as a revenge on the innocent people. This latter blood sacrifice killing is most definitely effectuated by the fact that the negative aliens are beginning to realize that they are losing this war of consciousness of humans. As a result, new apertures as holographic inserts are appearing in the planetary consciousness grid in an effort to speed up their harvesting of human life energetics to be stored in their black hole monarch tanks. Is it right that the monarch tanks just have one form of energy, or are there many forms of energy in there?
Oh, it's basically loose related. It's magnetic energy
Okay.
that it's in the form of a loose, basically, that they extract. And it goes into in a black hole system. Just like a black hole, you see that brings everything into its wake. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So basically, a Moloch tank is like a black hole system.
This is why nowadays there is so much anxiety surfacing in people, in, in, enraged by new fear-mongering tactics associated with financial difficulties and poverty, with the people constantly being plagued by the concern as to how to pay their bills. There is the advent of a variety of forms of taxes imposed on people, plus the mind controlling program initiated decades ago with regard to carrying insurance policies, whose menu as to what type of insurance ever increasing, with the insurance companies constantly fragmenting policy coverage, generating new venues to capitalize on. There is also the artificially rising costs of everything, including futile education, variety of utilities, including gas, electricity, water, sewage, gasoline, etc., food, shelter, mortgage or rent, etc. Thus, except for a small group of people, the so-called traitor elites, others are constantly forced to live or survive paycheck to paycheck, or even in a day-to-day manner. Such incredible concern to be able to financially sustain yourself is overwhelming, which is even often exasperated by the payments of interest one incurs on previously acquired debts, which is the very reason for the incredible anxiety one sees in people nowadays. And to further exasperate the situation, as was indicated earlier, is, is the threat for survival due to violence and killings of all kinds. War, terrorism, senseless, neurotically originated massacres, etc., which all transpire as a result of fear mongering, mind controlling tactics by the negative aliens. Note that our energetics are most concentrated in the form of loosh and is most potent when we are in fear. This is a substance that is created in the midbrain and is highly of craving nature and proverbially scrumptious to the negative aliens. And
Uh,
another thing,
let
sorry,
me stop you. Are you at the end of the first part, or you haven't reached yet?
I have 3 pages left
Of the first part?
of the first part, yeah.
Ah, it is a long paper. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And another fear-mongering strategy employed by the negative aliens through our mind control software in the form of holographic inserts is the constant fear of unknown with regard to our fate and afterlife that plunges humanity into hypocrisy, adopting superstition, being afraid of ghosts, goblins, and spirits, particularly malevolent ones referred to as demons and such, when demons are just, they used to be human beings. They used to be beings.
They're energetic parasite beings.
Yeah, yeah, they just lost their way. This incited fear of afterlife, coupled with imposition of such absurd concepts and ideologies as sin, when sin doesn't actually exist, judgment day, end of days, hell, etc., together with the fear of punishment by a judgmental, wrathful God, always compels one to stay in a phantom docile state of guilt, shame, karma, and such, with the particular distortion of the latter phenomenon, when guilt and shame are negative implants.
Mm-hmm. They are.
Thus, humanity is mind controlled and programmed into subscribing to a fixed set of beliefs formalized in the form of various religions, In this respect, the strategy of divide and conquer is employed. Once again, through mind-controlling holographic software inserted in the planetary personal consciousness grid to compel one to believe that he or she is the one who has the answer with regard to creation, God, reinforced through one's own brand of religion. And of course, nothing, including the belief system of all these religions, cannot be further from the truth. However, they are all set within a background that seems plausible to the inner fields of humanity. First of all, they are based upon half-truths emanating from historical consciousness memory of humanity, but with careful holographic inserts that are not only of false nature, but are congruent with the parasitic needs of the negative aliens to put us in fear in order to effectively siphon our precious divine energies. This way, it is rather easy for them to use mind consciousness slides that have inherent deceptive qualities founded upon and comprised of certain keywords, phraseologies, and ideologies that are deemed as approved and consistent with their nefarious mind controlling tactics. This way, the God-seeking human becomes triggered with such phraseologies that are introduced by the family of the individual at birth, which become continuously reinforced to adulthood, making the basis for one's belief system. At the same time, the individual is programmed with the dogma that anyone that does not believe in such ideologies is to be deemed as infidel, anti-God, atheist, agnostic, and such. This is why for centuries, if not millennia, there has always been conflicts between different sectors of human population who have engaged and indulged in religious wars to set the other factions straight and to teach them the real lesson of faith or spirituality. And of course, wars are synonymous with killings and blood sacrifices that are so much sought after by the negative aliens, which they so eagerly crave for or are enamored with, that they have devised such sophisticated mind programming, holographic inserts, and have incorporated them in our consciousness grid to be readily disseminated to the collective consciousness of humanity. In fact, to this date, for those who are still not awakened and continue to religiously believe in their own brand of faith and ideologies and purported truth, it takes but nothing for them to come to a heated discussion, soon turn into arguments with another person of a differing religion, inundated with expressions of impatience, resentment, and even strong anger. As for those who are in the process of awakening, in contrast, the very word of religion is taboo, often entrenched with similar form of aforementioned reaction as the ambiguity between science and spirituality. These individuals may be regarded as somewhat awakened because they have already come to realize the futility of the former religions practiced by others. In this respect, they have actually developed strong dislike for the very idea of religion, which erroneously some confuse with the true spirituality. The author has personally witnessed many such exhibitions of ignorance, particularly during years 2011 and 2014, in which the very suggestion of the field of spiritual science was met with strong reactions, often swamped with utter egotistical expressions of ridicule and utter disrespect to the author. And these came from purportedly educated individuals who fancied themselves as scientists or intelligent people with inquiring minds and such. Yet, in the opinion of the author, there was never any hint of open-mindedness or allowance from this group of individuals who suddenly felt the ground underneath them was opening up, dragging them away from their comfort zone and their consciousness prison black box that they were so used to, which seemingly form their so-called security blanket. However, it is becoming increasingly clear that many people are awakening nowadays and beginning to realize that proverbially they are not in Kansas anymore, and they will need to part with their old and stale paradigm of reality. The challenge still exists with regard to certain shock factors and how to avoid them as an author and educator, which would not interfere with people's comfort zones so badly, so that they would become so shocked or stunned by the very idea as to rock the foundation of their already developed enlightenment that they would give up and, so to speak, throw the baby out of the water. And unfortunately, the truth about the existence of negative aliens, how they have entrapped us in our prison of unconsciousness, and not to mention the incredibly sick and diabolical nature of their satanic Luciferian practices, leaves one at a crossroad that has to be navigated very delicately. And that's the end of part one.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, did a great job. Are there any last questions?
Well, I just want to make a statement, really. The love and light narrative that is going around, that is extremely toxic. The only reason why I say that is because of the amount of darkness I have faced myself by the very people that spread the love and light narrative. I was always brought up in the faith. I was brought up in the faith of we are all one. I was pulled out of that because of my inserts. I was pulled away from my family home. I didn't realize they were protecting me. And I was pulled out of that because of the inserts that they had, my parents and my siblings have been controlled by. So they thought that the abuse was normal. And when I spoke out about it, that's the taboo that we talked about, that you don't talk out about it. So I was just lost, basically. And for them, I was just a beacon of light for the negative aliens, because I was pure light and love. Pure light and love, I was still that. At the same time, I was suffering with the childhood trauma, so was codependent, people-pleasing, was clinging to people. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners that have been through the same thing, searching for an answer. Why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like this? What is going on? And all the health professionals do is treat the symptoms and not the cause. And I was looking for the cause and I found it. So thank you so much, Doctor, for showing me the cause of all of it.
My pleasure. And the answer to it is not medicating, self-medicating, drugs, and whether it's alcohol, whether it's, any kind of drugs, even prescription drugs, and they're very, by the way, that's another thing. First of all, the drug dealers, it's going rampage, and it's protected by the government, shadow government. They actually are the ones who are doing it. They destroyed everybody who was in Colombia or South America, you know what I'm saying, or in Mexico or whatever. They took over everything themselves. It's a big money business for them, and also the other thing is doctors. My wife was a surgeon, and well, she was quite different. She was an eye surgeon. She wasn't into this, but you look at all these doctors that you go, for internal medicine or family practice or anything like this, and it's just you got these drug reps who come in there and they're paid so much money to push these drugs. You know what I'm saying? They throw parties for the doctors. They do all this kind of stuff. And the doctors basically have forgotten about all they studied. They don't even remember their anatomy or anything of the sort. And all they do is just, which one should I prescribe? This one or that one or that one? And you know what I'm saying? And the drug reps, who are some of them really even uneducated people, are very, you know what I'm saying? They're not physicians, they're not scientists, they're not anybody. And they're telling them, because they're pushers, they're salesmen, you know what I'm saying? And they are telling them, you know, prescribe this. And so they prescribe. You go to these doctors, you haven't even said hi, they start writing the prescription, you know, or they know what they're going to give you. What are you talking about? I mean, I've seen that. You go to a doctor, you know, and the first thing they ask you, they want to see what prescriptions you're taking. Everything is prescription. This is not the way to heal people, okay? And even people who have serious problems that need some sort of surgery, you don't need really surgery. If we had light therapy and if you had sound therapy, you could get rid of a lot of these things. Everything, every miasma is energetically related. And it starts that way, whether it manifests in physicality and in your body and stuff, that's a different issue. These parasites, when they stay in your system, if they stay for a very long time, they turn into physical parasites. Did you know that?
No.
They're totally energetic, they become physical. They start manifesting. They take enough the energy, you know what I'm saying, to they have form. And initially when they come in, they're in black goo or AI technology and all this stuff, but they can eat so much of that energy and learn from the host to actually have some sort of organic sense. I mean, parasitic stuff exists in, you know, in the stomach and all this stuff. Some of those things, they're all result of miasma. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's a lot in medicine. I mean, as I said, I used to be a chief executive officer or you know, manager of my wife's clinic at the end. You know, when I retired and all that stuff, I helped her with that. So I was in the medical practice and all that. I mean, you know, by the way, you call me doctor. I'm not a physician. I'm a Ph.D. I'm a scientist. You know what I'm saying? And my background is, of course, in mechanics and, you know what I'm saying, materials, quantum mechanics, plasma physics, all that kind of stuff. But I got into it later. But anyway, drugs are not the you know, the answer. Now, sometimes you may have to take. There are some drugs that help you with, you know, soothing your, you know, headache or even sometimes anxiety. Very small dosage if you take, because it would help you to relax, so you don't get bombarded by all these energetic parasites. You have time to think and say no. You know what I'm saying? Because once you panic, it's downhill.
Yeah.
And they're going in smorgasbord, feeding frenzy. You know what I'm saying? Your body creates delusion. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, hopefully that helped people. Thank you very much for reading this and also for your insight and also sharing, you know, some of your personal experience. I look forward to having you coming, and there is a second part, right?
Yeah.
It was a very long paper. I remember it was like 45, 50 pages. So anyway, you come in and we'll do this and we'll have more discussions. And please, as you read through the second one and jot down anything you would like to discuss, I'll be more than happy to try to help you as much as I can, you know, and the public. Also, this is the purpose of all this program. So thank you very much, Jesse. I enjoyed our you know, discussion and session together, and I hope that the public feels the same. I'm sure they would. So we'll take it from there, and we'll get together again next time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Say goodbye.
Bye. Bye, everybody.
Okay, until then, thank you. Bye-bye.